You know that moment after a conversation ends when everything suddenly comes back. A sentence you said, a look on someone's face, a tiny pause that probably meant nothing, and yet your mind keeps returning to it. Not once, not twice, but again and again. You replay the moment from different angles. You test different interpretations. Maybe they meant this. Maybe they meant something else. Hours later, the conversation is long over, but the scene is still playing quietly in your mind. Most people assume this kind of thinking means something simple. They call it being dramatic, too sensitive, too caught up in your own head. Sometimes the label is even harsher. People say you're overthinking. The word itself carries a kind of quiet criticism, as if your mind is doing something unnecessary, as if the solution is obvious, just stop thinking so much. But the truth is, what people call overthinking is rarely that simple, because for some people, the mind doesn't just react to the world. It scans it. It analyzes patterns, signals, possibilities. It tries to understand what's happening beneath the surface of things. And when the brain is wired this way, it doesn't easily switch off. What people call overthinking is often something deeper. It's the psychology of a mind that is constantly searching for certainty in an uncertain world. Psychologists sometimes describe this pattern through something called cognitive monitoring. It's the brain's ability to review experiences, anticipate outcomes, and simulate different possibilities before they happen. In moderation, this ability is incredibly useful. It helps people plan. It helps them avoid mistakes. It allows them to read social dynamics that others might miss. But when this system becomes highly active, the brain doesn't just prepare for possibilities. It explores all of them. Neuroscience research has shown that people who overthink often have more activity in networks associated with introspection and mental simulation, particularly in what scientists call the default mode network. This network becomes active when the mind turns inward, when it reflects, when it imagines, when it tries to understand the past or predict the future. For someone whose brain naturally leans this way, silence doesn't feel empty. It becomes a place where the mind continues working. And this tendency rarely appears out of nowhere. More often, it develops slowly through experience. For many people who overthink, their mind learned early on that paying attention mattered. Maybe they grew up in environments where small signals carried meaning. A change in tone, a quiet shift in mood, a conversation that suddenly felt different. In those kinds of spaces, noticing subtle details becomes useful. The brain learns to stay alert. It studies reactions. It remembers patterns. It tries to predict what might happen next. Over time, this attention becomes automatic. Even when the environment changes, the mind continues doing what it learned to do. It keeps scanning. It keeps analyzing. It keeps trying to make sense of things. From the outside, this can look like unnecessary worry. But internally, it often feels like something else entirely. It feels like responsibility. A sense that if you understand things well enough, you can avoid problems before they happen. That if you think carefully enough, you won't hurt someone accidentally, or embarrass yourself, or miss something important. In that sense, overthinking is rarely about wanting to complicate life. It's usually about wanting to navigate it carefully, and it's important to understand that this pattern isn't inherently good or bad. Some people move through life quickly. They decide fast, act fast, and rarely revisit the past. Others move more slowly. They observe. They examine experiences from multiple angles before letting them go. Neither style is superior. They simply represent different ways the mind adapts to the world. But overthinking carries an interesting paradox. The same mental ability that helps someone understand complex situations can also make simple moments feel heavier than they are. A passing comment becomes a puzzle. A neutral expression becomes a question. And the mind, trying to solve the uncertainty, continues searching for answers that may not exist. Psychologists sometimes call this rumination, not thinking in order to solve a problem, but thinking in circles, the mind revisiting the same moment, hoping that one more look might reveal something new. Yet hidden within this pattern is also a quiet strength. People who overthink often have an unusually deep awareness of emotional nuance. They notice subtle shifts in relationships. They detect tensions others overlook. They often think carefully before speaking or acting, because they've already imagined how their words might land. This can make them thoughtful listeners, careful decision makers, and deeply empathetic observers of human behavior. At the same time, this awareness comes with a quiet cost. A brain that notices everything also has more to process. More signals, more interpretations, more unfinished questions. And sometimes the mind keeps working long after the moment itself has passed. If you've experienced this, it can occasionally make you wonder if something is wrong with you, if maybe your mind is simply too busy. But from a psychological perspective, this pattern usually reflects something very human: a mind that learned to be attentive, a nervous system that adapted by becoming observant, a way of thinking shaped by experience rather than flaw. The truth is, every brain develops its own rhythm. Some minds move outward, quickly engaging with the world. Others move inward, quietly studying it. Neither one is broken. They simply operate differently. And for people who overthink, understanding this can shift something subtle but important: the realization that your mind isn't malfunctioning. It's doing what it learned to do, trying to understand, trying to anticipate, trying to make sense of the complexity of human interaction. Sometimes the mind will go further than necessary. It will explore possibilities that never happen. It will analyze moments that were already complete. But the same ability that creates those loops is also the ability that allows someone to think deeply, notice meaning, and understand people in ways others might miss. So if you've ever found yourself replaying conversations in your head, wondering if you said the right thing, examining moments long after everyone else has moved on, it may not mean your mind is too much. It may simply mean it's a mind that pays attention. And once you start noticing this pattern in yourself, something interesting begins to happen. You start recognizing it in other parts of your life too. In the way you observe people, in the way you reflect on experiences, in the way certain thoughts stay with you longer than they do for others. And that quiet awareness opens the door to a deeper understanding of how your mind actually works. Because overthinking is only one small piece of a much larger psychological pattern. And once you see it clearly, there are other patterns you might start noticing as well.